Hello, YouTube. How you doing? My name is HanK. New to YouTube, so I say this about every time I get on here, that I've learned that coming on here and talking to you folks is kind of therapeutic. So I highly recommend getting on here and utilizing this resource. It's free. But today, I'm wanting to discuss Kratom again. If any of you have seen my videos, you've probably noticed or realized that I am an advocate for Kratom. And there is a lot of tension developing around Kratom. Someone may ask, what is Kratom exactly? Kratom is a natural resource. It is not laced or made with anything to enhance its active agents, I guess I should say. And it comes from Malaysia. As a matter of fact, Kratom is a member of the green tea tree family. Kratom itself grows on a tree. It is a member of the green tea tree family. And the way that it is harvested is by removing the tea tree leaf, allowing it to dry out naturally but without the sun, and then ground it up into powder. And then that powder can be taken dry, or you can mix it with different things. Now, it has been said that different chemicals enhance the productivity of Kratom. I have tested that theory, and I have learned that there is truth to that statement. I don't think it's scientifically proven at this time because Kratom is such a new element, but the chemical characteristics of Kratom allows it to interact with other chemicals to better enhance the effect of the Kratom that you desire, so that your body can break the chemical components down and absorb them into your system to enhance the effect. So you may ask, what kinds of things enhances the productivity of Kratom? Most of what I've learned is citric-based acids, such as natural lemonade, natural orange juice. Even the natural sugars has a tendency to counteract with the elements of Kratom, but not as significant as synthetic sugar. Synthetic sugar neutralizes the effect of Kratom almost completely. So putting Kratom in with sweet tea to cover up the earthy flavor of Kratom is not a good idea, because you're going to counteract the effect of your Kratom that you choose. Now, if you mixed it with natural lemonade with no sugars, you're probably going to maximize the effect. One of the things I have started to experiment with doing is infusing garlic. I love garlic, and my wife doesn't. She says it stinks after I consumed it. But garlic is known to enhance and act positively in the Kratom, as well as its other qualities that helps with your heart, blood, and other elements. Another thing I like to mix my Kratom with is ginger. I've learned that ginger enhances the effect of kratom. So typically what you would want to do is take the kratom in the powder form, put it in a cup. If you have a Keurig, utilize it. If not, find a way to make the water warm to the point where it's steaming, but not to the point where it's boiling. Boiling water apparently kills the ingredients or neutralizes the ingredients for some reason inside of kratom and negates the effect that you're desiring or needing to help with. So don't boil the water, just get it nice and hot. I say the Keurig because it gets it at a perfect temperature. The water goes into the powder dissolves easily, and then you can infuse the garlic or ginger if you so desire. I only recommend doing a little at a time until you meet your acquired flavor, because unless you've had garlic and ginger for a long time, it can have an overwhelming flavor, especially if you don't like either one. But start off with baby steps, just add a little at a time. Now, once you get your water, your kratom, and if you decide to infuse the garlic and ginger, you stir it constantly for about a good minute. Allow those chemicals to engage and act. Then you put a lid on it, on top of the cup, set it off to the side, let it get room temperature. Okay, let it cool. And then take your natural lemonade and pour it directly into your mixture with your kratom. Stir it for another minute. And I usually like to let my mixes sit overnight. It allows the elements to bond, and it honestly makes a difference in the flavor. I have found that if I make my kratom that I'm planning on consuming around 5 to 6 hours in advance, that the flavor is on point. I'm talking like something that should be bottled up and sold if kratom is allowed to remain legal, and it just makes it easier for the kratom to do its job so that the chemicals and the elements can bond so that your body can maximize absorption, and you'll get a cleaner, desirable feeling or sensation. Now, back to what I came on here to originally talk about. Kratom has provided medicinal qualities for millions of people. I stand to be an example of how kratom can benefit an individual. I suffer from severe post-traumatic stress syndrome from my combat experience in the military after 22 years of the military. As a side effect from the post-traumatic stress or PTSD, I get an onset of severe depression. From the wounds or injuries I sustained, I suffer from severe chronic pain from my head to my toes. I mean, I've had more than 30 surgeries since 2010. I stopped counting the surgeries I've had at 32. And as a matter of fact, on February 4th, 2019, I'm supposed to go back in under the knife to have another serious, huge surgery performed. So I'm looking to find something that can provide me with some kind of relief, because I've been dealing with these things since I retired from the military, and about the only thing that has been afforded to me by the VA, if it hasn't been narcotics, it's been absolutely nothing at all. to the point where I can't even get my primary care manager to return phone calls. I can't get the dietitian to help me get something organized because everybody's like identified me as a high risk because of my medical condition. Now nobody wants to invest on me because by doing so they have to accept me as their patient. Nobody wants to do that because of the damage to my body that initially was created by the injuries I sustained, but ultimately resulted from the malpractice performed through the military and the VA doctors. So now I am looking at a lifetime of surgeries, so you can understand how this can affect me not only physically but emotionally, mentally. So we know that narcotics has a natural depressive action on a human person's body. Okay? So let's say you're taking narcotics for an extended period of time and you are already depressed. Narcotics will intensify that depression. You hear of a lot of suicides while people are on narcotics. It increases your depression. So there for a while, when I first came back from that deployment being the last deployment I went on, military persons will understand what I'm talking about on that one. But when I came back, I was getting ketamine infusions. If you don't know what ketamine is, look it up. It's a very serious narcotic-based drug. Usually for people that are considered amputees because of the neurological pain and whatnot. And my pain is severe enough to have that. And I was getting ketamine infusions on top of hydrocodone, oxycodone, oxycontin, Dilaudid extended release, and I could go on. I mean, at any given time, you could find an abundance of narcotics in my safe at home. And I started to notice that I started to develop a dependency, a tolerance as well on narcotics. The more I took, the more I needed because my body was developing a tolerance. So the pain was still bad or getting worse. So I would need to take more. And it was just a brutal battle. And then by the end of the day, I found myself realizing that I was addicted to narcotics. And I hated that. So I forced myself to get off of narcotics to the point where it landed me in the hospital because I went through such a severe withdrawal. I was having seizures. I was experiencing the pain in my skin and in my joints and in my intestines. And I mean, there are people out there that will understand that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then good. Stay away from narcotics. But it was a battle. And I was hospitalized for a whole week to clean out my system enough so I can go home. And then once I retired from the military, I started to look into medicinal marijuana. And one of my buddies introduced me to Kratom. I wasn't sure what it was, but I was willing to try it out because from the little bit that I did know from just looking it up quickly, there are 3 strands: red, green, and white. There are many other different names that people have fabricated, but those are your 3 main strands. And each strand helps you differently. Like one strand helps you with ability to deal or tolerate pain. It doesn't numb you. It doesn't work like the narcotics, but what it does have is the quality to attach the chemical to the receptor in your brain that is hurting and needs relief, and it attaches itself to the manner where it blocks the pain impulses. So you're not experiencing that pain, but you're getting the sensation as you're not experiencing the pain as bad. Now, some people may have a better effect where it takes the pain completely away. Some may say it doesn't help enough, but it does help. It helps me. So I'm sure, and it can't be bad off for the fact that millions of other people claim the same thing. But for the fact that it blocks the pain receptor that is feeling the pain, it allows you to engage in doing activities that you normally wouldn't do that helps make you happy. So, one of the other strains helps with depression. Another one helps with attention and awareness, energy. So, you combine the three and you should be good to go. Now, when I say combine the three, I don't mean go and mix all three together. When you're making your Kratom mix, there is a possibility, because it is a member of the green tea tree, there is a possibility that you can make yourself sick by consuming too much. Just like if you were drinking soda or coffee and you ingest too much sugar or you ingest too much caffeine, or let's say you're a heavy smoker and you go through and you smoke like a full pack as quick as you could, you're going to get sick from that because your body's not used to all that additional smoke. I mean, you can get sick from drinking too much water. And that's what I'm saying. When you're using Kratom, there is a possibility you can take in too much and your body can naturally develop a tolerance. So what you need to do is keep that under control and only consume a manageable amount that you need to achieve the desired effect. If you're in pain, you want to just knock down or get rid of the pain. If you're depressed, you want to enlighten yourself and get in a better mood, and so on and so forth. So one way that you can monitor that process is if you've never taken Kratom before and you're going to try it, and you're going to make one of your green tea or your Kratom teas, then go in and start with 1 teaspoon of Kratom powder. Take the teaspoon of Kratom powder and mix things up just like I explained it with your lemonade, your ginger, and your garlic, or however you decide to do it. And just start off with the 1 teaspoon. Now, if that doesn't make you sick and you feel that you can take a little bit more, take up to 2 teaspoons. But I would not take more than 2 teaspoons per serving twice a day. That way your body does not build up a significant or a tolerance at all. If you sit and find yourself eating the dry powder or drinking Kratom tea all day long, you're going to develop a tolerance. And you very well may find yourself feeling sick from it, just as if you had just consumed an overabundance of sugar or caffeine. So, but I am a prime example that tea, the Kratom tea, does work. Before I started taking it, I had a hard time every day getting out of my own bed because I was in such significant pain. And then from the moment I would wake up, and if I slept at all through the pain, from the moment I would get up to get out of bed to the moment I'd try to go back to bed, I would have to deal with that pain. And knowing that set off the depression really bad, you know, because I was in an environment where it was high speed, low drag, go, 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 you know, to almost a do-nothing sedentary position that I'm fighting, but it's hard because of the injuries I am fighting through and infections from the surgeries that I've had. But the Kratom does help. It has helped manage the pain. It has helped with my depression, anxiety. It has helped me with school. I've found that taking my Kratom early in the morning before I go to school helps me focus. I've learned that there is evidence to show that Kratom helps increase a person's attention in class, which results in a person becoming smarter, increasing brain activity and function. So I have seen the good, and right now the FDA is fighting to ban Kratom. They are fighting so hard that back in 2012, the FDA went through a legal action suit that they should not have done, because they requested an emergency hearing in an effort of having Kratom classified as a Schedule 1 substance, making it comparable to heroin, crack, cocaine, meth, and any other synthetic hard drug that you hear about today. So whenever you hear the word Kratom, they're trying to get it so that people are like, oh, that's bad. And it was in efforts to have that made illegal because they had found the value. The FDA had found the value in Kratom. They knew there was a market in Kratom. They wanted to corner that market. And in efforts of doing so, the FDA promised society during that illegal emergency scheduled hearing, they promised to develop a substitute in 10 years. Well, 10 years down the road, those millions of people that were relying on it are now forced into finding other means, even illegal means, of acquiring something that can help them to replace the Kratom. And that would possibly mean that they would go back to using narcotics or finding illegal means to obtain such drugs. But the FDA's got their hands in that process as well. But the thing that really gets me is how they held this emergency hearing in 2012, did not give normal society like you and me the opportunity to sit in and be heard in the hearing. That's why it was illegal. The FDA did not include the other side of the story. So it was obviously illegal. But what they were trying to do is trying to get this process, Kratom, banned without society knowing about it. That way, FDA could take Kratom for the next 10 years, learn its characteristics, which they are fairly familiar with. I mean, Kratom has been around and used in Malaysia since at least the 1800s, and even before that, for medicinal and ceremonial purposes. But the FDA said that in 10 years they'll make a different product, but what they were going to do was take that product of Kratom, extract one insignificant element, keep it in the powder, put it in nice pretty little gel capsules that you can go and buy for yourself, and sell it for buku bucks. Right now, if Kratom was to remain legal, the FDA would lose millions of dollars that they have invested to have Kratom banned. But if Kratom is made to be legal, the FDA stands to lose billions of dollars, because then they won't have the corner market. It is so funny that the FDA has taken the approach that they have, because the FDA director that brought this entire process on has since stepped down. He left a person in his place that shared his convictions about the use of Kratom. it was explained to the former FDA director that if he was in his current position as the FDA director, that once they developed the Kratom replacement, he would not be able to profit because it was a government sponsored process. So he steps down so he can go off and develop this Kratom so he can put more money in his pocket and have it banned so that you and I have to go and buy it from him down the road. There's been a lot of speculation about deaths being caused or created by Kratom. And the 47 deaths that the FDA has presented to society that they claim, that the FDA claims was caused by Kratom, upon further investigation of the autopsy reports, it was learned that each one of those deaths were not a cause of Kratom. They were a cause of polydrug deaths. Poly means multiple. Obviously, polydrug means multiple drugs. Now, in the autopsy reports, the coroner states that Kratom was at traceable amounts and was least likely consumed within 24 hours of the victim's death. Traceable amounts, meaning they weren't even sure if they had consumed Kratom within the 24 hours. Kratom doesn't last that long unless you're just pounding it hard, and if you're doing that, you're going to be throwing up. I'm sorry. So that in itself will more than likely deter you from eating Kratom like that. But rather it being Kratom as the cause, they learned that it was actually stuff like drugs such as heroin, crack, cocaine, and even alcohol. Even alcohol. That was actually at toxic levels above any consumption rating that a person should ever have, that was so toxic it was lethal and deadly, identified as the cause of death. But because Kratom was a traceable amount, they contribute that as a cause. But let's think of this. How many people die from smoking cigarettes every day? How many people die from drinking alcohol? How many people do you know have died from drinking Monsters or Red Bull? Right. So they're wanting to take something away that is 100% natural, that has not been firmly identified as the single cause of a death, like cigarettes and alcohol has been, but they want to ban that and make it a Schedule 1 felony for distribution, use, or selling of any means. It doesn't fit. It's obvious the path of why the FDA is choosing to do it this way. It's up to us as society to say enough is enough. This is the moment that we, the people, can stick it to the man. So I highly recommend the use of Kratom. With anything else, consume responsibly. But if you find yourself severely depressed or in an abundant amount of chronic pain or any pain at all that you want to help rid yourself of so you can perform, work better, do your job better, it's even been proven, Kratom has even been proven to improve people's ability at work, to make them so that they can function better. You know? So just consume responsibly and enjoy it. I mean, at least as long as you can. And good luck.